Lucayan's voluntary employment separation packages could be complete by the end of the year. Doctors looking at new trends in oncology. And Career Day observed at a local school.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Rule-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news this evening, the Commonwealth Union of Hotel Services is embracing the voluntary employment separation packages offered by the government for Grand Lucayan line staff and casual workers. Tonight, the union's attorney gives an update on the process and how soon employees can expect to receive their payout. The government making it clear through a recent press release that voluntary employment separation packages would be made available to current employees of the hotel should they wish to discontinue. Counsel and attorney for the Commonwealth Union, Pleasant Bridgewater, says a list of nearly 150 employees have been compiled and submitted.
I have spoken with the Minister for Grand Bahama, Minister Thompson, as recently as last week. He's indicated to me, though, that they have made it a point, and I guess in discussions with the Prime Minister and those persons, maybe at the cabinet level, that they would not interfere with the board, that they would let the board look at all of the submissions and then make a decision without political interference as much as possible.
Bridgewater says not just current employees will benefit, but former employees as well.
We've spoken about that, and those consideration will be given to those once they've completed the employees who are there now in terms of the severance packages and looking at back pay and what they're entitled to. And I can sort of understand that, because you don't want to confuse where they are now with those persons who are there and moving forward with the hotel. With the full complement of the staff that they would be going forward with. So I can understand that.
The union's attorney adds that the government's aim is to complete this process as soon as possible, and possibly by the end of the year. She notes that employees can expect to receive the maximum benefit and whatever they are legally entitled to.
We have the assurance that once they've looked at the figures, crunch it, made sure as much as possible that they're verified and supported by documentation, these people would receive their full packages. They have qualified accountant, chartered accountant, looking at the figures and the submissions.
But she contends that no specific deadline has been set.
I think for these purposes, it's important that persons make the decision quickly, so that the government, not necessarily, but the board, the government, because they own the hotel now, but that the board that has been appointed can look at all of the circumstances and then pay people off. And I think ideally people want to be able to get their settlement as quickly as possible. People have bills, Christmas coming, and all these other things. And at the end of the year, people like to start the year off, on a clean slate, so to speak.
And while there is no incentive for persons wishing to take the package, there may be some benefits for persons who may want to leave, but the board wants them to stay.
But they do, and the attitude towards the business and the work and so forth. So I know that has been mentioned to me, that there might be some incentives given to people who may opt for the package, but really, the board would like them to stay. And so, but they have not indicated what that or any of those incentives might be. And so, vice versa, they may be considering incentive for those who may opt to stay and might be asked to leave. So there might be some kind of consideration given there. And I would think so if that is in fact the case.
So far, she says she is pleased with the level of communication between the union, the board, and the government. Well, tonight, a former parliamentarian and cabinet minister is expressing some optimism about the government's purchase of the Grand Lucayan Hotel property. He believes the government's involvement can begin the process of re-energizing the tourism product and bringing some relief to the overall economy. Megan Shepard reports.
I want to do all that I can to restore Freeport to its former days.
The Right Honorable Maurice Moore has fought for the betterment of this island and nation for decades. He has led the charge for Bahamians to become leaders in this nation. And now he says that fight must continue to build up the island of Grand Bahama. He says it will take three key components.
It takes new people, new ideas, and new money. If we can get those three items together, we can move it. And we are working today on doing just that.
It has been no secret that Grand Bahama's economy has been slow and sluggish for many years now, and some residents struggle to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Moore getting very emotional as he admits that more must be done to rebuild Grand Bahama.
We have to rebuild our people. I'm saddened sometimes. We can do much better. But we're getting there, albeit slowly.
The government of the Bahamas recently purchased the island's anchor property for some $65 million. Moore says that while some people have been complaining about this purchase, he believes they lack understanding of what it takes to revive this economy. He says the purchase was a difficult yet strategic decision to make.
Your number one industry and the most important 50 acres of development in Grand Bahama is Lucayan. The government has a responsibility. You cannot allow that to get into the hands of real estate sheikhs who only move to make money. The government has to protect its number one industry, and therefore had to take control over that, so that when it is sold to some operations, some persons, some group of persons who will meet certain conditions to maintain the standards in our number one industry.
In recent times, many residents have also questioned the relevance of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Moore believes that the organization has run its course, and now is the time for the city of Freeport to be returned to the hands of the government and the citizens.
I'm hoping that the government will see the wisdom in calling them in and say, now look, you're holding back the second city of the country. We need people with money, ideas, and we're just not getting it from you. You have to make a decision.
Before completely retiring, Moore says that he will continue to do all in his power to see Grand Bahama returned to its glory days. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Thank you, Megan. U.S. authorities say a passenger on the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line's Grand Classica died after falling from the cruise ship while en route to Freeport. According to the U.S. Coast Guard, the passenger fell Friday evening aboard while the ship was sailing from the port of Palm Beach. Reports say Coast Guard's crews met the ship about 13 miles east off the port of Palm Beach and transported the man to shore, and he was pronounced dead at a Florida hospital. The man's identity has not yet been released. Meanwhile, a male visitor to Grand Bahama reportedly drowned yesterday. Police reports say the visitor was snorkeling off Tino Beach around 3 p.m. and sometime later he was found lying at the edge of the water unresponsive. Emergency personnel responded and the visitor was taken to hospital for further medical assistance where he later died. Investigations are continuing. In other news, the annual Grand Bahama Medical and Dental Association Conference wrapping up on Grand Bahama over the weekend. The two-day parley giving top local and international physicians an opportunity to come together to share best practices and new trends in the field of medicine. One of those areas, interventional oncology. Megan Shepard explains.
Chief Interventional Oncologist at the Miami Cancer Institute, Dr. Narayanahan, addressing the annual Grand Bahama Medical and Dental Association on the topic of interventional oncology. He says that it is one of the fastest growing subspecialties within interventional radiology. He notes that physicians use imaging guidance to perform procedures in a minimally invasive fashion.
My talk today covered all the different facets of interventional oncology, where we treat tumors, not just do the biopsies for the diagnosis, but also actually be involved in the treatment. We covered mostly on two different broad areas of interventional oncology, which is ablations and transarterial treatments of tumors.
He explains how these procedures treat and kill tumors.
In ablations, basically using imaging guidance to place needles within the tumor, and you can kill the tumor by using energy sources such as heat or cold or electricity. When you use heat, we call them thermal ablation, using called radiofrequency ablation or microwave ablation, whereas with cold it's cryoablation, where you're freezing it to -20, -30, and with the irreversible electroporation or the nanoknife, we're using about 3,000 volts of electricity to electrocute the tumors and kill them. So you place these needles within the tumor using imaging guidance. It's done in a very precise fashion, and then once you deliver the energy, you kill the tumor, you remove the needles, you place a band-aid, patient goes to the recovery area, and most of the times they can go home the same day or the next day. So their hospital stay is very short, and also helps with their quality of life.
And the benefits?
Being able to control the tumor, that's number one. Most cases we're trying to control metastatic disease, or in some cases such as primary liver cancer, we can offer a cure to select patients, and the ability to do that in a minimally invasive fashion, I think, is the key, where you don't have to have an open surgery and have a very short hospital stay. And the other advantage of the treatment is that it can be used in combination with other treatments. This may not be an option for every patient, but somebody who's had chemotherapy or radiation, they can still have this as an option if they're the right patient for that.
He notes that the Institute often treats numerous Bahamians. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Stay with us. There's more news right after this break.